Well, here we are back here. Happy UFL Week 8. Let me bring in John Lewis here. We're back Tuesday. Had the week off. We were going to do one last week, and I said maybe, and then you were traveling, and then we were working, and then we did not do it, but we're back here today. Someone, I think it was on Twitter, said, I like the schedule better the last 2 weeks. Well, hey, buddy, that's not very nice.
Then they're not watching right now.
And they're not watching right now. We're back here. We were talking already ahead of time. John's pilgrimage to St. Louis. We'll talk through all of that stuff. We have Mike Mitchell. We have all the TV ratings. We have everything else. We have all the attendance, all of those things. We're even going to talk about Dustin and Royal Retros and all of that. I have exciting things to talk through all that. But John, how are you? It's been 2 weeks. You were out of town for Mother's Day.
Right.
And then we were going to do it. And then I just got lazy last week. Sorry. So how are you doing here?
I'm doing good. I mean, we've had like 2 really good weeks of football here. Now, I know, the next 2 weeks might not matter a lot because the playoffs are set, but I'm optimistic about what we might see these next 2 weeks because it's going to be a challenge for, these players want to get tape. These coaches are going to try to help them. I mean, we might see some quarterbacks that we never thought we would see all season. So there's still things for them to play for. So I'm still looking forward to the next 2 weeks, but I'm ready for the playoffs.
Not a lot of meaning the next couple of weeks. We joked. I really feel like I'm pretty caught up right now on UFL. Where some weeks like I've been traveling and whatever.
Right.
And even last week when I knew we weren't doing this show, we were joking. Dorothy comes downstairs and I'm watching and texting you in the group chat, and she's like, well, I thought you were doing the show this week. I'm like, well, in theory, like I still enjoy watching the games and like texting. It's really you. It's really like texting you. I need to get you back on Twitter, and then the group chat is really the only thing that's keeping me
one of these days,
keeping me involved in all this stuff. But we'll get through all that stuff. So anyway, like and subscribe. We had people upset and like I can't remember. We made someone mad. And then they pulled a bunch of subs. They said the stream fell off, but here we are. I think we're doing our best. John, before we get started, like and subscribe. Now, I did want to tell this story. Like and subscribe. Get us up to 4,000 subscribers. John has his code, JLS, for Royal Retros, right? So we're going to do that because I finally got, and I'm going to pick it up Friday, but I texted John this photo. I got my custom-made Randy Rose Reina jersey for the Mariners, courtesy of help with Dustin at Royal Retros. So this is the front here. You can see kind of it's the guy that we do kind of does a mishmash of, you see the World Series logo on there. I kind of sourced all this stuff, but you see that green M and E there, sourced from a Team Mexico replica that Dustin kind of helped me, basically just sold me the jerseys without the letter, or the letters without the jersey. So I thought that was pretty cool. John, what do you think of this? Farhan is not jealous, but Jim Mullen gave me the thumbs up. Farhan just gave me a laugh. So what do you make of this?
I like it. I mean, especially if you're into like, kidnapping notes, it looks awesome. But no, I love all the different letters and the way you got it laid out. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it's cool. So anyway, use John's code, JLS over there on, Dustin can't make you this, but he can help you source, but you can buy jerseys through there, and then we're going to give 2 away. See, it's all connected. Like and subscribe, give a thumbs up, use John's code, do all that stuff. Yeah, Pat checking in here. Yeah, lots of officiating. And it was last week, I think I was about ready to charge the TV, and then we didn't do the show. But I was like very upset with the Mike Prayer and all that, very upset with Dean Blandino and everything else. So we'll get to all of that stuff. Good games here this weekend. We had the split squad Saturday, but overall, really exciting games. I thought the Saturday game was awesome. Trigger warning for Seahawks fans for the Sunday game. I texted John as he was traveling back from St. Louis for that one with Luis Perez's pass. What did you make it? I mean, I thought it was great. I just had a blast kind of watching the games.
I mean, it was a great game. Yeah, you gave me the fair warning there, the trigger warning, because I came back and I started to watch the game after we got back from St. Louis. My wife had enough of UFL football, so she sent me to the basement to watch the game. But yeah, I was like, it was just shocking to me. I mean, if you guys watch Analyze and Educate, and if you don't, you should. Like, Pat really broke it down. I mean, simply, that's not something that you see from Luis Perez, and you just can't do that and win games. And I don't know if it was miscommunication, if it was he was, just called his own number to decide what to do. I just don't know. I was shocked. But leading up to that, it was an incredible game still. I mean, it was still an incredible game. Just what a wild way to finish. And it was a lot like, with St. Louis and Birmingham. It's like, that's not what you expected. we thought it would be a defensive game. There were some huge plays from Birmingham, and then they ended up losing on a fumble. It was a wild weekend.
Yeah, it may or may not surprise you, but I do tend to be very vocal sometimes watching games.
Oh.
There is very vocal. I have a clip of her that is not safe for any broadcast. But when Luis Perez threw that, I had just come upstairs. I was finishing my run. I got the game on my laptop, and I had literally just set it down on the island to go get coffee, and I screamed out loud. She literally came in. She goes, "What is happening?" I said, I don't know. I just it was really wild, really exciting because Anyway, we can get to all of that stuff. Let's do first off, because we have a comment here. Mike's talking about TV ratings. Let's do all of that first off. How do I do? Here we go. I of course I got rid of the one, and then we'll do that. But here we go. So first off, TV ratings. We had the Friday game yesterday, and then everything else came out with that. 573 for Friday. Split window on Fox, the 591, and then 973 ABC for that, the Sunday game. Mike's comment was just ABC really killing Fox's ratings this year. I have lots of thoughts about that, but what's your thoughts?
Well, my thought is Fox has got to figure out if this Friday night thing, they've got to figure out what the flex is. Now, I know there are a lot of fans that would be upset, but they knew at least a week ahead of time, or even longer than that, St. Louis Birmingham was going to be a better game than, Memphis San Antonio as far as matchups go. I mean, that game actually ended up being an incredible game, went to overtime. It was crazy. Yeah. But I just don't think that you're going to get as many fans to watch that game on a Friday night than if you had moved, Birmingham and St. Louis to that night. Now, thankfully they didn't, because I was at the game the next day. But yeah, to me, those Fox ratings, that's not sustainable. I don't, if you can get 500,000 to watch a rerun of, whatever Fox show you've got there. So you can put on a rerun of Masked Singer and get probably more than that. So they've got to really look at that. There are three things couple of things they got to look at. The UFL has to look at, and with Fox, are those Friday night games and the ratings and how to make that better. And then they've got to shore up a couple of these franchises. But you're right, like ABC, man. And I don't think this was any kind of positive spin that Mike was trying to put on it. I think it was true. It ended up being one of the higher rated games and actually peaked at over 1 million. So, I mean, that you had that many eyeballs. I think that's just great. And I don't understand the split broadcast window. I don't know if anybody's figured that out, if there's a reason for that, but that doesn't make sense to me. When you
I can explain all that.
Okay, hit me. I'd love to know.
Well, yeah. So first off, I did like the Mike spin of again, I joke with Mike. It was like the highest rated game of the season, and then we also had some low rated. That's fine. So I look at the Fox Friday thing. That's its own thing, right? That's it. That's separate one. And then we have the split game thing. That's issue 2. And then we have the Fox versus ABC thing. I think it's wild, that the normal Fox games with ABC is being hurt so bad. Like, because this is all this is Fox's brainchild, right? Like, hey, we're going to start the USFL and bring this in and do all this. And then meanwhile, ABC, ESPN's doing a lot of that heavy lifting, and then they get these ABC. Now we can talk about the NBA, them moving, them moving the game to ABC or to the NBA, which I bet is why that game peaked at the end of the ratings, Mike Mitchell and the UFL and Brahams. But that's why, and that's why it peaked at the end and not the beginning, is because it was leading into the NBA pregame. But they got to figure that out. Yeah, because Fox, they're taking it in the bath here, where that's this is their baby. Like, this was their whole, let's get Brian and let's do the USFL and we got the spring league and let's do all this. And then, ABC's just, we're just kind of broadcasting some games. For the split window, I will say I saw, I think it was Zach with Newsroom posted the map. It showed Texas and then what it would have been Texas and Michigan, right? It would have been there was only 2. It was a very limited split window. Mostly everyone got the St. Louis game. I saw the map, and then the reason why Fox does that is so they can say, well, see, we had 2 games. They had 2 Fox games on. The 2 different games got main Fox slots, even though one only got shown in 5% of the country. That's why they do that.
I don't know that helps build a league. That might, you can pad your stats, I guess. So you still got 591,000 that you put out on Nielsen. So to me, I don't know, but I will say the people that actually watch both those games, I mean, pretty decent.
Yeah, who is it? Oh, Pat's saying in the chat, comments are on fire. There's a new option that I can like show this, like show the comments, I think live as they come in. I don't trust that. I don't trust our fan base.
No, I get it.
We only need
man,
one.
they are really heating up here. You're right.
But no, but anyway, so for that regard, but I will say, I would take the ABC Sunday rating with a grain of salt because of that peak.
Okay.
We had
That's fair.
Abdullah on here, the NBA countdown lead in. The reason for the game was over.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is, and you're not going to quibble over any of that. The USFL did that, right? Season 2, where they led in the IndyCar or NASCAR, I don't know.
Kentucky Derby, 1 year, I think NBC
Kentucky,
it blew up, and they were like, we had like 1.5 million viewers.
Oh, yeah. I think it had 2 million. I mean,
was it 2 million?
It was huge. The lead in for that, and that's what you need to do, but they don't. I mean, we're talking here, and we'll move on here, but there's a lot of comments like, well, why are they on this slot, or why are they this? John, we can't even schedule the home games in our playoffs where we want to have them. So, like, you know what I mean? Like,
point. Yeah.
And I'm not saying that for slight. I mean, I try to. It's the same with me. Like, I could probably ask to interview a lot of people on the show, and then there's a lot of people that would probably say no because, like, right. But you're just where you are in the league. You got to kind of know you're picking. Or any other big takeaway. I don't want to do like an hour on this, but anything else, because we don't normally have the full picture there. But I'd be super happy with the ABC, but Fox, two issues there. But that Friday night is still rough.
Yeah, they got to work on that. It is, and eventually, I think. I think there will be a 2026 season. I think there are going to be maybe some wholesale changes here. And if they continue to do the Fox Friday night, I can't imagine that Fox doesn't say, okay, we want to flex at least a few of these games after maybe week 5 or something like that.
Here's a question. So I guess we are technically, we've confirmed the 26th season, right? They sent out their you can buy season tickets now, right? You can pre-buy season tickets for 26. And then I have another news item, but does that change your life at all? Or is that just status quo?
No, I mean, you can take deposits and sell season tickets, but are we really thinking that there's going to be a team in Houston or in Memphis next year? I mean, I don't know. I mean, you're going to get that deposit back. I don't know how that works. I hope there is. I mean, but they got to fix some things there. But no, I mean, the short answer is that it really doesn't. I mean, it's good, but also, something that you and I had talked about before is, remember when we all knew with this merger that some teams are going to be out and they're signing players and they're hiring coaches, and we're like, as you said, this seems disingenuous because we knew none of this was going to happen.
Well, and no, I mean, the reason I ask, and I don't mean to be facetious, but I do sometimes we get these news stories like, specialist showcase announced for next year. And it's like, oh, there you go. Like, whatever. So, but that might change your life. Might make you feel better. That's why I'm asking. I was bought into, I got my Dragons. What was it? I guess I got my Dragons money back when COVID happened.
Right.
And then I think for my Sea Dragons, I think we had paid in for the next year, and I think we got our money back. I'm trying to remember. I couldn't. It was right at that line where, like, we were committed. It happened right. I feel like we paid our money and it was quickly refunded, or we didn't. Yeah, it was right before we paid it.
I mean, I hope it doesn't get to that point, but you gotta think the UFL's already has been having some talks behind the scenes, and we haven't heard a lot about expansion either. So.
And the other quick story, and Pat, I think, had tweeted it with some of the work that Pat does with his school for coaching, but the UFL is doing these like off-season local. I had the list. I don't know if I was seeing if I could bring it up on like the computer. I just got the email. I don't think we have let me see if I can do that, but I just think it's cool to kind of do more outreach that way and kind of brings more. Any thoughts on that? I want to see if I can pull that up real quick.
Yeah, I think that's great. It gets the UFL out in the community, and places like Memphis have been getting out in the community, and you're seeing a lot more of that. Talking to some people still like in Birmingham and some other markets that the marketing there, the outreach isn't there, but there are a lot of markets that are doing this. And I love seeing, I love seeing the UFL do this in their markets. That's really cool.
100%. And just because I've been on here in a couple weeks, this is great. You have all the locations here. We're doing one, in every city, hosted by the teams. Let's get some of the players out to be involved in that. And then also, I just got another email from the Showboats with a story for Boogie Roberts.
Yeah.
And then I know that the Renegades have done a really good job too with doing David over there with the Renegades running some of their socials, posting stories.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure, because I did complain about that like maybe a month or so ago. Like if it was me, I would have one of these stories every week. So there's 2 teams that are doing that. So that's great.
Right. No, I think these youth clinics are great, because that one thing that separates the UFL from a lot of leagues is it's accessible. And these kinds of camps, these are hands-on. These are kids that get to go there. And then it's not going to completely break the bank if you want to take your kids to one of the games. Now, the tickets prices are a little bit higher, but you can still go to a game and it's affordable, and you build a base. It makes the parents feel good. It certainly makes the kids excited. But when you can get out and you can touch these players and you can talk to them, and it's one-on-one, and in these markets, I mean, there's no loss on this. This is all a win-win situation.
We had one comment here. We'll do attendance and then we'll move on. Need more memes and bickering between the teams. I will say, and I agree with this. Where Mike Mitchell and we were talking even in our group chat this week that I can't remember. It was a big. McClendon had a completion for a touchdown, and the caption was like Monday or something, and Mike was like, "This is such an impressive. Like, could we please like." It felt very lame kind of Twitter posting. And,
Right.
and I would agree, because I think that Fox and them have taken over a lot of this year. So we know that Leo with the Battlehawks, I don't believe is with the league anymore. We knew Jay, friend of the show and media member or whatever. He's not with the Brahmas. So they're, you have like one guy in Fox corporate that's doing a lot of this stuff. Like, it's just, you lose that. And I think it's very lost.
Well, it just felt like last year the Brahmas and Battlehawks were 2 of the biggest trash talkers, certainly on Instagram, that I saw, and it was really funny stuff. I mean, it was, sometimes those kinds of things feel forced, but which I think it does a little bit this year with some of them. But yeah, I just thought that was really good, and it's too bad that they lose those people, because that is such another accessible outreach, and and a lot of times they will, they'll talk back, with fans and that kind of thing. And I think, when you do that, you feed a base, and then you grow a base that way, and it's free. It's free.
Oh, I think it's great. I mean, I think I've said this before. The UFL is far closer to the CFL than they would like to admit, and that I mean that in a great way of the CFL engaging. I mean, the CFL does such a great job, especially post-COVID, and kind of ramping it back up, but rolling out into the communities and doing. I have notifications on for the Lions just because I know Matt and it's my team, and I mean they're always out somewhere at some bar doing a show, or they're at some the cheerleaders are at a thing, or it's just. You need to do that. One quick comment here. DeMarcus said the Fox broadcast could use some juice. Fox needs to use Gosh Johnson. I was just going to make a joke.
100%. I totally agree.
I texted John. I've been making fun of Sam Acho the last couple of weeks on the broadcast. And this weekend, right, he's with the ESPN. I don't really I don't see like networks. Like I just kind of turn on the TV and I'm like, whatever it's on. So whatever Sam's on, but he looked like he was in the Nation of Domination. And so I tweeted, I said, Sam Acho is personally keeping Spencer Gifts in business in 2025. And I didn't realize that he followed me. And so I quickly deleted the tweet, but the damage was done. Sam was followed me. The damage was done. I lost it.
You lost a follower.
It was worth it though.
Well, I can tell you one thing. Gus Johnson would have been 1,000 times better than what we heard from Tim Brando on that game. It's like, God bless him. I think Tim Brando probably did USFL games back in the 80s, but that was not it.
Just real quick here, as we're 20 minutes in, we're doing good though. Any thoughts, attendance figures, just as they came out? I just want to make sure we touch DC. That was rough. There was, I mean, we talk all this, the cherry, the distributed versus whatever. I will just say I've been in Audi Field twice for XFL games, and then I've obviously watched a lot of them on TV, and that was the least amount of people I've ever seen in there. That was a very poor showing for DC.
Yeah, when they're showing those wide shots, especially where the beer snake is. I don't know if you've heard about the beer snake, but they've got a thing there.
Wait, what? This
might be something new for you. But yeah, that did look pretty empty. I was at St. Louis. I don't know if that it was 30,000, but there was an awfully good crowd there, especially considering the bad weather that it hit, the night before and everything that was going on in St. Louis. And I think that there probably would have been 30,000 people there for that game, because that was huge.
It was just funny because even in was that the one that Luganville was at? Like, I can't remember. I saw
Luganville was at the DC game. Yeah.
Okay, so they were talking, and he goes, yeah, the beer, yeah, of course, like everyone knows the beer snake, but he's like, yeah, they're really kind of lacking. They really their postures, like they need to hold it like, because it was kind of getting sloppy. I go, even they're over it. Like, I'm over holding this beer snake for 4 hours. Like, I'm over it. Could you imagine? Like, that's my seat. That's what I do. I don't know. I thought that was funny.
I mean, they went to it really quickly. Like, that's their cash cow. That's the low hanging fruit on this. But I'm not going to beat them up too bad, because the casual who watches this for the first time is going to see that for the first time, and they're going to be like, "Hey, what is this? That's kind of cool." So I know for us, again, we're the sickos who watch every down, so we've seen it before.
Had no one ever stacked a beer cup inside another beer cup in a continuous line before DC played in the XFL in 20? Like, that's like, they never did that in Madrid or like Barcelona. They never Manchester.
I saw some in college. I don't know.
I mean, did they do that in Ted Lasso? Like, I'm just really.
Maybe they will. See, maybe DC is going to start something, and people will say, "Where did the beer snake originate?" And like, the DC Defenders. And let me tell you about the UFL, like we're Jehovah's Witnesses here. You have time to talk about the UFL.
The University, what is it? A fan at the University of Washington created the Wave, and I hate them to this day. Did you know that the Wave started at UW? It's like, but that's credited as that.
Was that, who was it? Bill Parcells? It was one of the NFL coaches back in the 80s who just absolutely hated that and talked about it all the time.
I hate it. Here we go. David, I miss the days of throwing line.
Those were the days.
What's new? We can't bring in the cups. All right. Let's go into all this stuff. I think we've done any of that stuff. Where is my standings here? Do I have that? Sure. Do all that. All right. So we kind of have things locked down. We'll do the games here. DC was able to lock down. Well, I guess not, right? Not home field, but we're hosting it in St. Louis. What do you make? I guess, what do you make of that? What do you make of neither first place team being able to host in their conference?
Well,
does that bother you?
It does, because it's, it feels like the UFL had even said like they knew this was a possibility. So why is this still a possibility, and why did this happen? I think they were trying to maybe avoid the worst, like they did last year. If you'll remember, Birmingham and Michigan played at Birmingham last year. It was for home field advantage, but once again, Michigan, they wouldn't have been able to play at Ford Field, but Birmingham ended up beating them. I think it was last year before. So, so they were able to avoid that. No, so it does kind of bother me, but I like Shannon Harris's take. He says, that we can play on the moon. We'll just have to get our astronaut suit ready and we'll play. So he's fine with it. But I think he did, as he said, I hate it for the fans, because, the fans are the ones who are coming out there, and, you feel like you want to be playing for something. Like, obviously you want to be playing for a playoff spot, but also how about the extra juice that it gives to, like, well, if we do this and we get some help, or we, win out, then we're going to have home field advantage. And you're hamstrung when you begin. So no, I don't like that at all. But again, this is a spring football league. We're continuing it. There's kinks to work out, and hopefully year after year there'll be a little bit more learning and a little bit way to figure out some of these situations.
It's really hard. And I was just reading before we came on here, right? The NFL they're doing all their voting for their flag football. And I think even their owners are voting to get rid of you automatically get the home field advantage if you win your division, which I think is horrible. And I'm split. I'm with you. I hate this because it makes a mockery of the entire idea of playing, and what do we do with standings and everything else. But does it? I think the St. Louis DC one matters more to me. The Birmingham, Michigan one, you're getting on a plane anyway and flying. Does 6,000 in Michigan, 6,000 in Michigan. That to me doesn't matter as much.
Yeah, I know. I think it affects the XFL conference much more because those are the two strongest home field advantages that you have in the entire league. So that, yeah, to me, it's like that takes away a little bit of this. It takes away some of the seriousness of this league, if that makes sense. I think it hurts the brand a little bit. I don't know that, again, the casual viewers out there who will be watching the playoffs, I seriously doubt the broadcasts are really going to go into, well, it should have been this, but because, they're having the rodeo here or whatever's happening, they couldn't play there. I don't think they're going to go into that. So I don't think a lot of people are going to know this outside of our, niche of people watching here.
And that's kind of where I'm at. Like, I'm not going to lose sleep over it. I think it's bad. And like you said, I feel bad for the fans. And if you lived in, if you lived in Audi, not if you lived in Audi, if you lived in DC, and like I live in Audi. Remember when Baker Mayfield lived at the Browns Stadium? I loved those commercials. Was that protective? When he's
that was. No, that was when he was played for the Browns, and he was
Progressive.
It was and it was some insurance commercial
or Allstate. Protect your house with Baker Mayfield.
That might have been it.
Anyway, but so I feel bad that way. The players, it's totally Bush League, but it's like I said, you already have AJ McCarron making fun of getting on the same plane with guys. Like, doesn't matter if you're playing it. I don't know. It is what it is. I would be upset, but I get it.
Well, you think about it too. If you're a season ticket holder, and you're supposed to get first dibs on tickets, well, wait a minute. What's the incentive for me to buy season tickets if I know that my team could get home field advantage, but I'm not going to be able to see them? So that, to me, that's one thing that would bother me. If I lived in one of those communities.
Well, not only that, but you can in theory, pre-buy your season tickets for next year. If potentially your team was here and potentially they come back and they make it to the playoffs. And then, anyway. All right. So let's do all this. We have the Friday night game. Speaking of all that, Brahams here going down. I saw a lot of AJ Smith tweeting on Twitter. He's really gone crazy here, just with obviously him not on the team anymore and everything, and Showboats and coming down to overtime, a lot of back and forth. What did you make? We won't do a deep dive. We got a half hour. What did you make of this one?
What I really liked is those are two teams have nothing to play for, other than individual, trying to, as we said before, trying to get tape, and you're playing for pride. And to see that, to me, that was really cool to see those two teams still continue to give it their all. And I don't think any of these guys are going to be quitters, or too many of them. Now, I think we're going to see a lot more retirements. I know, Pat's already written an article about some of the guys who are retiring. I think we're going to see a lot more, maybe even could have been some today that I haven't seen, but as we move along, especially after this next week, are some of these guys who don't have a chance, are they going to just say I'm not playing another week of this, I'm going to move on? But I just really liked what we saw with this game. It was an entertaining game and nothing on the line, but man, that was fun.
It's just hard. It's hard with the 10-week season to have these teams out with 2 weeks. It's really hard. And the CFL gets brutal. The last, because the CFL is what did they do? 18 games, 21 weeks through. It's just the last couple of weeks, unless it really matters for one of the teams. It's just brutal to watch. So I certainly feel bad that way. And just the Brahmas. I just feel like the players just totally got hosed, and it's just a really unfortunate situation this year. I feel like at least Memphis has had. We've at least had fun talking about Dresser win and stuff. I can't remember the last time we enjoyed talking about the Brahmas.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And both these teams had a lot of turmoil and coaching changes, and they've gone through quarterbacks and everything else. But yeah, you're right. That was a fun game. I'm interested to see what happens in the last 2 weeks with a lot of these teams.
There was, I think Pat specifically, but a lot of us with Kevin Hogan playing for the Brahmas, not maybe giving other people a chance, or you have some, you're talking here the next couple of weeks, in terms of the Brahmas game plan on this. Did you think that was weird that Kevin Hogan saw so much of the game time?
Well, I'm very reluctant to talk bad about Kevin Hogan because I know Pat's watching and I don't want him to block my number, because I want my wife to love me as much as he loves Kevin Hogan. But yeah, you're right. You're starting to take I think you're taking reps away from guys who have a future. That's why I think we might see a lot more, a lot of different quarterbacks here. And the Troy Williams thing surprised me too. It's maybe they felt like Dresser Wynn had enough. They wanted to give Troy Williams, an opportunity here. So, but yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of different players, different skill position players, especially, get in there the last couple of weeks.
Do you think that coach has done enough, Jim Turner here with the Showboats, to kind of stick around next year? Do you think he would? I mean, I'm just trying to get one more question here about this game before we move on. But do you feel like he's invested? Like, what do you sense of this? I mean, is he done? See, I could him be like, I'm kind of over this.
Well, I mean, I could see that, but I don't know. I haven't talked to him, so I don't know. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes in Memphis. If there will be a Memphis team next year, on the surface, though, I would love to see him come back in some capacity, whether it's a head coach or maybe he's like, I want to be a position coach. I want to work with these guys. I don't need all this other stuff, because you saw the frustration a few times on the sideline the last few games. So yeah, I don't know, but I would love to see him come back. I mean, it's not even that he's a character. I think he's a really good football coach.
Just looking at this, and I'm just at such a loss. Like, for both of these teams, I like the Brahmas, and we've had so much with the attendance and the season, and they still have home games because they were backloaded. They have more because of March Madness, and
right.
It's really tough to. I mean, at least Memphis, I got a little bit of a thumb up. But maybe you don't. I mean, just to put a pin in both these teams, do you feel like you have any motivation or it feels like it's pretty mild, both these teams moving forward, both football wise and off the field.
Yeah. I mean, you get to wonder. I mean, I think Memphis is on the fence. I mean, as far as a franchise goes, it felt like they were doing everything right, getting out in the community, as I've said several times. I mean, I saw it, and down there was a hardcore group of fans, but it's too small. And but as far as San Antonio goes, I think if that team had been better, we would have seen the kind of turnout that we've seen before. Even though when you start to look at the other San Antonio spring football franchises, including the San Antonio Commanders that were there in the AAF, I mean, that they had great crowds. And I just think maybe that community has gotten a little burnt a little bit on spring football, especially after that. And and then Hines Ward walking away, and now you got Wade Phillips walking away. So many things have happened in the last couple of years. But I think Memphis is kind of the big question mark right now for 2026.
Yeah, I feel, I don't know if malaise, is that the right word? Is that
no? I think that's fair.
Yeah, and just in general with some of these teams, and we were even talking before on just on text earlier today about is it real hot right now here, and just kind of the space and spring football and everything. And I think it's really I mean, it's 25, it's gonna be 6, next season is gonna be 6 years since 2020. Like, I do feel like you're running the course on some of these teams or franchises, or I don't know. I mean, it's a comment for another time, but I don't know how you even, like, if I worked in San Antonio, like, I don't even know, how do I send an email out? Like, please be excited about our team next year. Right. Please come to a game. I mean that in all seriousness. It's so hard in Memphis too, but it's pretty rough.
It is. And, it was just interesting in St. Louis, like the local Fox station does a 30-minute pregame show, from 11:30 Eastern to noon before kickoff. You knew the Battlehawks were playing there. Like, and I'm not trying to, but St. Louis is such an outlier, but I do think that there are things to be learned from that. And I have to think that some of these other teams and general managers and everything have gone to them. It's like, what's working here now? Granted, again, it's an outlier because of the situation with the Rams and how they, there was still, I saw another, Kroenke sucks shirt when I was there. So that's still there. And that's one of the big reasons that the Battlehawks have been so popular, but also that's a football town. And these other places are football towns. And, but you're right. Like, what is it that you, like you said, what do you email out? What do you tell the community? Like, yeah, please get excited about this.
I don't know. It's really hard to me for like some of these markets. I looking ahead here because I just want to kind of let's talk about anything more, because I'm just like, God, I just hate all this. I want to talk through this with the St. Louis. So speaking of value, the pregame, John was in St. Louis, super fan here. No one doubt him for being the super fan of the UFL for going out to the games. So this was, I don't think we'll do too much on the other doubleheader that we didn't get to see a ton of, right? Did Houston, I can't even remember. Did Houston, Michigan won that one, of course. Yeah. So we'll touch on that in a quick second. But you were in attendance for this. I watched every snap of this game. This was an exciting one. First off, general thoughts, because then I have a very pointed question for you.
I think there's legitimate concern for Max Duggan at quarterback. And again, how do you bet against Skip Holtz? I know it's not going to be popular to give him a Coach of the Year award because he's won 3 straight championships and all that. But what he has done this year with what feels like 73 different quarterbacks, it's incredible. And then, Jamar comes in off the street. He's had 2 really good games. I mean, he just, there was the fumble at the end. That was a great defensive play. That's the thing. But obviously the atmosphere, it was fun, even though it might not have been 30,000 people. It's just such a fun place. They even sold tickets up in the 400 sections up top. It was really cool. It was fun. And those were 2, it was worthy when you see like what this might have been a UFL championship preview. These were 2 really good teams, and it came down to 1 play.
Here's my question. Actually I have a couple, but do the Battlehawks win this game if anyone previous to Jamar Smith is quarterbacking the Stallions?
I mean, I don't know that would have changed a whole lot. I mean, I understand, your offense is going to go through your quarterback, but I don't know that it would have changed a whole lot. I just like, are you saying like if like Alex Magoo had played?
Well, yeah, I mean, it struck me a lot that Jamar was running for his life a lot, right?
Yeah,
and I'm looking down here on the stats, and you had Skip's yelling at Jamar on the sidelines about not being. He's like, "Well, you can't throw a screen pass, you can't play," and so. To me, and I'm super excited that the Battlehawks won, and this is both your teams, and I'm sure you were just going crazy because this is like John, this is like John's Super Bowl, and you survived it. Oh well, and let us make sure we shout out anyone that was hurt in the tornado there, because you kind of survived that driving. I mean, there was a lot of like stuff. I don't want to kind of wash over that, but it felt to me like Jamar just wasn't. I mean, I know he had the 3 times. It didn't feel like you were beating Jamar on that. I'm just curious. To me, there's an asterisk there because the Battlehawks beat the Stallions with Jamar, with Skip yelling at him, not knowing what was going on.
Well, I think a lot of that is, Skip and Jamar have been together for quite a while. So I think a lot of that is those are just 2 very competitive people. And, Skip Holtz knows he can talk to Jamar that way. And it's not going to be, Jamar's not going to go into a shell. He's going to listen to it and do better. But man, I mean, he had some great passes, and that first one, I mean, that first touchdown pass that Jamar Smith had, I mean, that crowd went silent. And then and then I think they kicked a field goal after that. And I'm looking at my wife. I'm like, this might be this one might be over. They had some big plays. They had some explosive plays. I mean, I'll give them that. But St. Louis's defense did tighten up quite a bit. But I honestly, I don't know that. I'm not sure that a different quarterback either on either side would have made a difference. I think we would have seen that, and it would have come down to the wire.
We had a couple comments here. Pat says Corral gets 200 yards.
65 yards rushing. That's very likely.
Jamar is the only quarterback they could have won with. It would have been worse otherwise. Well, there you go. Let me just say this. I might not like the Stallions that much just because of like everything just in my life the last like however many years they've existed. Like imagine use your head, like imagine why Reed might not like the Stallions, and then imagine like then Jamar comes back and then he gets like all the publicity like on that team that I also don't like, and then like he's sitting there like woo. I'm like very annoyed, and he's got the Megamind brain. Like I'm just very annoyed. So I'm just trying to poke holes. I'm trying to poke holes.
I get it. You need to work through this.
I do. I'm a hater. I hate I have to work through it.
I mean, you are a known hater. We know that for a fact. You're a known hater of the XFL, the USFL, the Birmingham Stallions. I mean, we can go on and on. But no, to me, and there are a lot of people out there, and probably some people that are watching this that think that if Birmingham wins again, it's bad for the league. I don't share that opinion. I think that if you're working in a spring league that has 10 games a season, that has 8 teams, and you can build a dynasty that quickly. I mean, to me, I think that's more headline grabbing than if another team wins. Now, if it's St. Louis and they win there and it's 50,000 people show up, then that's a different story. But no, I think it's good. I think the Stallions story is good. And yeah, maybe I'm biased too, because that was always my USFL team. So maybe I was biased.
Now I'm going to put something on the screen here, John, and this is all Abdul. So this is not anything. Boy. This is not Reed's secret account. It's nice to see St. Louis show up to the game when the tornado went through their community, and Birmingham can't attend the game because of church. It's not nice. It's just not nice.
It's true though. And here's what I'll say. That storm, all kidding aside, that tornado was devastated, a lot of the area and certain people there. And still there was a moment of silence at the game but you still had that many people show up. Now the UFL did not do Birmingham any favors to put a game on Sunday, Mother's Day at 11 a.m. Central Time, because you got exactly what anybody watching this right now, including you and me, would know. You're going to get 400 people show up. I mean, that was just like, why would you schedule Birmingham at home on that day? But Abdul has a point. When Birmingham, I think a lot of people like to go to Sunday school and church, don't schedule those games. I remember going to the USFL games down there in 2022 when you got the game Saturday and Sunday. They put the Stallions on at night, and it was, the place was packed. But then you go to the Sunday noon game or whatever time that was, and there's nobody there. I was one of about 50 people there. That's what it's going to be, even when the home team's there on a Sunday.
We got a comment here. Your friend Gregory, newsflash, Reed does like the Stallions. John, do I have permission to show the photo that you texted to me over the weekend?
Of course.
Of course, I got it pulled. That's what I was doing here. John and Gregory hanging out here outside. We saw Gregory at the championship game last year, Stallions. He's got the 3. He wants the 4. Anyway, Gregory was checking there. Yes, we got you, Gregory. I was very excited. John texted me that. He said he was at the Stallions number. So did you have fun? So you got recognized. I mean, that's exciting.
Well, I mean, Greg, he knew I was going to be there. It's not like I was some.
You don't
YouTube
have to
superstar.
take that. Don't have to qualify it, John.
So no, it was So it was funny. Last year when I went, there was a guy. I think he put in my YouTube comments later. He's like, I thought I saw you at the game. I thought you were there. It's like, come on, man. That my wife would have actually been impressed that someone would have recognized me at a St. Louis Battlehawks game. But no, it was cool. And here's the thing. The St. Louis fans, some of them were giving Greg some grief, and he went along with it, and it was great. And most of them were like, they were cool with it. It was like to see a Birmingham guy in a Birmingham Stallions sweatshirt show up. But it was a cool atmosphere. I thought everybody was cool about it, even though he took some grief, but he called with them.
It's funny because I knew Gregory when he said hi, but I will get the occasional, like, we'll be like when we were in Arlington, I'll get the occasional like, hey Reed, what's going on? And Dorothy would be like, who was that? I'm like, no idea. So anyway, but no, I mean, it's like people. I'm like, it's XPY72 whatever on Twitter. You know all this stuff. One comment just from David, because this is true. It does just feel like the Stallions have given up going.
Yeah, I mean it does.
Gregory aside, kind of in that market.
It does, and again, being down there last year, and I've been down there the last 3 years. If you didn't know that the Birmingham Stallions were playing at Protective Stadium, you're not going to find out anywhere else. Now, they did have a billboard up. It was one of those, that rotated things. It wasn't a permanent billboard like near the stadium. But it just felt like there's not a lot of outreach in that market for whatever reason. And, they're not going to show up just because you win championships.
Any other thoughts? I have a couple comments I'll throw up. Any other thoughts on the game itself? How do I hide of the current, anything else from St. Louis or Birmingham, the game?
Yeah, I think, for St. Louis and, Pat put it the right way. It was kind of funny what he says about Max Duggan's, throwing motion. It's like, it's the windup and the pitch. And it's like, what's coming, because it's like, it's almost, I'm not going to compare him to Tebow. I wouldn't do him that way, because I think he's a better quarterback, but it's just, there's a motion there that he's got to work on. And I know you're a Jamar hater, but I mean, 262 yards and 3 touchdowns against a very good defense was pretty good.
It's good. I'm excited. I mean, I'd be happy. I mean, I'm out. You know, I'm Switzerland at this point, so I have no real interest. Did you catch any of the split game in your rewatch? Or
I did not. I have not yet watched it. And then like I kind of want to see it, but Bryce Perkins didn't play, so I was like, well, I don't, And then it was a 30-12 games or 18 or whatever it was. So I was like, eh. Although, my God, I just see the line. I didn't realize Jalen McClendon threw 50 passes.
That's it. Well, I didn't either. That's what I was just gonna ask. I mean,
no one else knew it either, apparently, right?
Well, because I saw, and that's why it's not. I know that I think it was DeMarcus. I think I had retweeted on there that both games are on the app. I mean, I get why. Yeah. Well, I told you why they do it at the top of the show. But anyway, we don't need to do a whole deep dive on this. That is a lot. That's like a CFL stat line there.
I will go back and watch. This might be my treadmill watch in the morning.
Okay. There you go. Danny Atlin's on fire. Food is all fan.
Yeah.
So this was a game. I mean, this was a game, and this came down to it. And like we talked off the top, and because I knew John was driving back, so I texted him a bunch of stuff, and I said, you enjoy all this when you get back. I don't know if you did it or not, but you can consume, maybe enjoy it or consume it. But I mean, far lesser stakes, and not at the goal line, but that it just brought back the Seahawks there with Luis throwing that pass and the interception. I thought, I was I don't know if I even remember where I was when that happened. I mean, the Seahawks game, I was watching that. Maybe you do, but anyway, what'd you make of the game?
Well, I'd really rather not talk about the Seahawks. Thank you. It's too soon. But yeah, I mean, what a great game it was. Again, one of those that comes down to the wire, but that was just very un-Luis-like, to do that. And it probably will not show up in a new version of this, which, by the way, is still available. I just wonder if, I still got to wonder if this might be it for him. But I just finished this book, by the way. I don't know how many times that he said, like, this might be it for me. Like, and you're welcome, Luis.
I just want to make sure you got on there big enough.
There we go. How's that? But he does have a great story, but there's, and it's all in there, but it's like after reading that book, I'm thinking, and then this happens this year, and then this happens in this game. Like, he might go into coaching after this. I mean, still, he's a Hall of Famer. There's no question in my mind. But but what a game! And again, let's not overlook the DC Defenders, because I mean, this team might be primed. It was interesting to see that at ESPN Bet, I think they were the longest odds for the UFL championship, which, I mean, to me, that's pretty surprising.
Mm-hmm. David, I see your comments in the chat. We'll do David's comments at the end. He's screaming.
David brings it. But
I forgot about the injury reports. We can do about Mike Nolan. We'll talk Panthers. We'll do that. But no, I mean, this was like the Te'amu game. I mean, this felt like prime Te'amu running around, and I mean, this is, like you said, it's probably the last time Luis Perez is ever going to play football against, especially probably against Jordan Te'amu, kind of like this. I mean, it's a cool kind of way for them to go out after the game, or I think it was after the pick, and then they're doing the sidelines. I think Bob got about 3 words out, and then they had to cut the audio because it wasn't.
Yes.
I think he was pretty upset with Luis afterward. Blame that. I mean, I don't want to put the whole game down to that, but do you have any thoughts on just that?
Well, I mean, Luis Perez did throw, what are we looking at here? 360 yards and a couple of touchdowns. Mm-hmm. And that one interception, that was tough, but it's still, I mean, I don't know how you hang a loss on, he wasn't out there playing safety, so he's not out there playing corner. That loss, you cannot hang on him on that one. But Jordan Ta'amu, he is so fun to watch, and it feels like there might be a little, he was one of those kind of 11th hour guys. You didn't know if he was going to come back or not, sometimes, and it feels like there's a joy with him now. Like he seems to be like, really enjoying the play and certainly the team. So it's just fun to watch him and fun to watch DC.
David, that's a funny comment. He says, I know. He says, I mean, he has a lot of good comments here, but he said, you have to buy the paperback to see how it ends. So there you go. That'll be the amendment on that. But yeah, I mean, I'm just continually impressed with DC here. All the turmoil this year, and Shannon Harris, really never faltering and kind of getting these guys, and here they are primed to have as deep a run as you can have kind of in the playoffs here in the UFL, just with the 1 week in the championship.
Right.
But I mean, they look really good.
They look good, and they lose their head coach, then they lose their defensive coordinator, and it felt like, well, that would have been really easy for that team and that staff 100%. To just say, this is not going to be our year. Let's all look, especially the coaching staff. Maybe we just move on. But what Fred Keiss has done as offensive coordinator with that team, they got such talent, and even Abram Smith has not been like, what we thought he might be coming back from that injury. He's still a great player. They've got, that's an all around good team. And for them to be the longest shot on the board, at least the last I saw with ESPN Bet was interesting. That might be worth a few dollars.
I wanted to make sure I was looking on here to see if I had any other tweets. I know Pat, I'm just seeing here, I retweeted Pat had his Teamu and Luis kind of, I think because he had an article out on Out Football as well, kind of talking about, just kind of them playing against each other for that. I guess thoughts on them moving to the NBA game at the end, and then let me make sure, because I want to pull up my tweet talking about the Mike Pereiras or Dean Blandino, kind of all the officiants. Any thoughts on them? What was it? Was it like a minute 10 left? In the game?
It was something. Yeah, because I'm watching. I see on my DVR that it's about to run out. I'm like, what happened here? And I had to go to YouTube to watch, the highlight. I never got to see it from the broadcast. But hey, listen, the UFL had its Heidi game. It got on. I think it was on maybe Pro Football Talk had it on. So, of course, NBC is going to take a swipe at ABC or whatever. But it was, I thought that, or ESPN or whatever it was. But anyway, it was a bad move. You understand it. But my God, it was a pregame show. It wasn't like they were delaying the tip for, you would understand, they're getting ready to tip off an NBA playoff game. That wasn't it. It was a pregame show. But I guess we know where the ratings are, and we know where this falls into the tier of importance for Disney and ABC.
Yeah, it just it was like when the USFL, was it 2 years ago, they got pulled because Saturday Night Live was starting, or they needed to get the local news in before SNL, or I can't remember what the order was, but they got bumped on a Saturday, right?
I do remember the original XFL. Yeah, had Jennifer Lopez was the host, and it was a big deal. And Lorne Michaels was about to lose his mind. And there's actually, it was bad because I think the game was it was just a long game or it went to overtime, and it was bad. That was a scene. And then of course people were making fun of how this flagship show just got busted and had to be. I don't know. I guess they went late, but anyway, for the XFL, whatever this is.
I had, and I think, maybe it was I had texted it to you. I think I wanted to talk about, it was the Mike Pereira stuff in this game, right?
Yes,
Can you remind me on that? Okay.
You were telling me about the catch. Was it not a catch? I did say.
Well, there's just, to me, the officiating is just broken in the UFL. And so it used to be, even when the season started, like that was kind of their calling card this year was, hey, we got these challenges and like we get full access and we have all this stuff. And, we've talked about this on here and the challenges and the touchdowns being pulled back. And then now it's like, well, I think it was Joel Klatt was admonishing, so like, because they used the challenge and they weren't in like a game. They weren't in like a scoring situation. And I'm like, yeah, last week you could challenge like anything and they would just find something. They're like, oh yeah, that guy held over there. And then this week they're like, oh, Anthony Beck, like you're so dumb. Like that was second down. Like, why would you have in charge? And then they had the receiver caught the ball right at the sidelines. And they're like, oh, that kind of looks like a catch. And Mike Pereira is like, no, that's not a catch. Like, no way. Like, not way too close to review.
Right.
And then I think it was Stoop or whoever it was threw the flag. And then they're like, oh, shoot. Okay, I guess I got to look at this now. Like, right. Wow, I guess it is a catch. I'm like, so should we be challenging? Like, he didn't even bother to review it. Like, because the announcers are like, that looks like a catch. And Mike goes, no, it's not a catch. And then they challenge it and they looked at it like, so now like, what is the point of having him be like the review guy?
Yeah, well, yeah, and I do remember him saying that, and you'd given me the heads up on it, and he was like, "Oh, that, I wouldn't. That's too close. Wouldn't even bother reviewing that until, oh, I guess we are." Does it? Correct me if I'm wrong here, and I'm sure the comments will too. Does it feel like the challenge has, and the rules of the challenge has evolved a little bit over the season? Because
100%.
it felt like there were times where you could throw a challenge flag, the super challenge, and then they might find something. But then it was like, oh, well, you have to tell us. And there have been a few coaches that were like, wait a second, I've got to do what now? Like, you have to tell us exactly the number and all this. And if you get the number wrong, then no, it wasn't. I mean, it was just, I didn't know if it was just me not paying attention, but it felt like that has evolved over the year.
It's absolutely changed, because I remember last year, and we talked about it on the show, whoever was on that week, that I think it was St. Louis and DC. I think it was them still. And it was, but Beck challenged something. It was a big run, or they had something. He goes, someone had to be holding there. Someone had to be holding. And so then they challenge it, and they're like, oh yeah, the guy did it. But then you had last week, Luis's, touchdown got pulled back because, oh, well, we should have called that and we didn't. And then I'm remembering all this now. And then we had the Dean Blandino blow the play call mid-play because they were reviewing the play, and they go, oh, we had the whistle go off before the snap. No, you didn't. He was 5 yards down the field rushing, and then you blew the play. Like, you can't. What do they talk about in the NFL? Like, oh, they got the playoff. Like, whoo. Oh, that was crazy. Luckily they got that playoff, because that would have been overturned. I just hated that. I just think that it's a mess. And yes, you went from you can find anything, and then it was too powerful. And then like Dean missed something, so now he's stopping the game to look at stuff. And then Mike doesn't want to look at anything. You can't have, I don't think you can have a Mike Pereira and a Dean Blandino and their different personality types both trying to run this league. Officially, officiating wise.
Yeah, I will say I still like this officiating and the openness of it, and with the mics and everything, better than any other league. I'll take it every time. And I know sometimes Mike Pierre tries to be
wake up, Mike, we need you.
He tries to be a personality sometimes, and that's fine. I mean, that's okay. But I do like it, but I understand what you're saying. I think they need to be a little bit more. They've got to be a little bit more consistent. There, let me check.
I just got to be sure. Okay, just let me look.
And he's always like, "Look, he's doing. Let me check here." No, but I do like the way that they do the officiating, and it's open, and you hear, and you hear the officials talk to each other, which is great. I mean, I always, there was one of the games, and he's like, and one of the officials, she said like, and he was doing all this mess, or he's doing all this business. And I was like,
he's she said he's playing with his
yes.
Penis, right?
He's grabbing his crotch and all this business.
And
so it's like, that's how officials talk to each other. If you've ever been down on any level, you hear them talking to each other like that. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, I think they're going to try to. They need to be a little bit more consistent in it.
To me, and I also, just to round this out, Sam Schwartzine has talked a lot about this, and I think he even brought it up a couple weeks. We always have this talk with the challenges, and it's windy. I hope you can hear me okay. But he said in the original XFL, their original plan for 2020 was they would just review everything, right? So the coaches, because he's like, I don't want my coaches having to worry about deploying a challenge or a super challenge or whatever, right? It's hard enough, and especially some of these coaches like Shannon Harris or Jim Trump, like, okay, good luck getting promoted mid-season, and also now you got to remember to do this. Like, it's an impossibility. So I like that them doing all that. It's just so broken. And even then, like, Stoops won the challenge, and then they're like, well, that's your 2 challenges, so you lost your challenge. And he's like, but I won the challenges.
Right.
Like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean I lost both of my challenges? Like, you guys were wrong twice. I told you twice, and now I'm screwed.
And that might have been the play where the official said, that's a UFL rule.
Yeah. And he's like, you have, I think it was the S word.
Yeah.
Whatever rule.
Right.
But you just need to decide, because yes, you can't. Yeah. Because it's not the same rule. It's not the same deployment. Yeah. And I think that what I think happened is I think they got screwed on some of these whatever. And now they're like, we really have to keep an eye on all this stuff. Well, you can't talk about training your officials and like we promote all these guys to the NFL and then also like having this kind of stuff. Anyway, that's just
it's a work in progress, but it's great in theory. Sometimes you just it's all in the execution sometimes, but I'll still take it over the whatever the ivory tower that some of the NFL officials are in.
Last comment for me today, because we'll get out of here. David had this. I just wanted to make sure we talked about the depth chart just super quick on this. Because there was all they didn't have the right quarterbacks listed. For Michigan, he was listed as probable and kind of all that.
Probable,
stuff.
Right?
What's your thoughts? And then I'll share.
Yeah, I think this was gamesmanship, but David brings up a very good point. Gamesmanship is one thing. People are putting money on these games. And as he points out, rightfully so, they're partners with Underdog. Not to mention, I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but ESPN talks a lot about the over-under and other prop bets and things like that. So, yeah, I don't know about investigated, but I do think that there might be some questions that they sit down and say, this is is he really probable or is he out? Like to say he's probable and then doesn't play, that stinks. That there's something stinks about that.
Yeah, I don't know if I need to still have it up or not. I just it just annoys me because this is what I tweeted. Someone had tweeted out one of the fantasy guys, Jake, one of the guys I've had on that runs the fantasy stuff. And yeah, he was complaining. And I just said, they're so unaware. They're just so unaware of how gambling and sports betting works. And I said, if they hire, not me, I don't know anything about, I don't bet on it. I can't bet on sports because I get too upset. I can't. I will never bet.
No, I'm with you.
You don't need to worry about it because I'll blow a gasket. But you need to, if you hired someone for 6 figures and just said all you need to do is you are in charge of the fantasy and gambling for the UFL and these injury report, you would see 10 times full. They don't understand this whole, because why the hell would I ever bet on any of this stuff now? Yeah. It's week. I would get if this was week 1 and all these coaches week 1, it could be a competition. By week 8, there's no excuse why you can't. And I would be pissed if I had money on the game. Yeah, Jake. Thank you. Yeah, Jake. I would I give credit. Yeah. He was the one that tweeted. Yeah. I can't remember what he does, but he's a good fantasy guy.
I think that's right. That turns people off, and it's not fair. It's not fair to people. If it's you and me betting $5 or somebody else laying a lot more on it. I think that's something that they will probably look at. And yeah, I'm not trying to question like Mike Nolan being a cheater or something, but
no,
if that was the case where there was some gamesmanship, then that just can't happen.
I bet the conversation would go like this. Daryl or Russ or whoever would be like, why do we care? And they would move on. I don't think he's cheating. I just think they don't. I don't think they get it. It was the same thing that the first year, and we would have to beg them to post the injury or the practice, the injury reports for the practices.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think it was even Sam Shady, on his thing on Sam Shady, he tweeted one of them, I think it was last year, and they got mad. They're like, well, you can't share these. And he's like, well, but you're sending them out to the media members, and then we're not allowed, because even the first year I was like, should I be posting these? They just don't get it. But you are all football people. You're all football people. Yeah. You're all NFL people. How do you not understand the importance of on-time injury reports and that they're going to come out Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or whenever you say, and you're NFL people.
How's that even a question? It's an injury report.
Oh, wait, but remember we used to get them at 3 in the morning. You get them right. or they tweeted out Sunday's transaction or Saturday's transactions on Sunday. Yeah. They go, there was no transactions yesterday. Right. What?
It's still a work in progress, Reed.
I'm getting upset. I should get off here. Anything else, John? Anything else you need to talk about?
I think you need to end this right now.
Okay. All right. Like and subscribe. Give thumbs up. JLS, Royal Retros. Remember all that stuff. Like and subscribe. Give them a thumbs up on here. Appreciate everyone. I think I'm good now for a couple weeks. We'll see what John's doing. Maybe we'll be back. We'll try to do it. We'll get all that stuff, and then it should be exciting. John, anything else you want to talk about?
No, I appreciate it, and I'm glad to be back. I think there's things to talk about. We can get excited about these things. It's okay.
I had a great time. Like I said,
Yeah.
Dorothy's like, "Why are you watching this game?" I said, "Because I want to talk to my friends." Like, that's all I was doing. She's
Nothing
like,
wrong
"Oh,
with that.
Well, she comes downstairs because what'll happen is I set up the treadmill on the TV and then she's got her spin bike. So then she'll be like, "Oh, we're watching this," or so if it's like True Blood or something, at least it's like, it's like eye candy a little bit.
Sure,
like she
sure.
likes some of the guys on there, but
Right.
for the Dresser Win isn't doing it for her yet. But anyway, all right, we're getting out of here. We'll see you guys.